There's no getting over it. Not really. Years later, you'll be thinking of them, and you'll wish that you could go out on another walk, that you could show off what you've done in your career with them, that you could have another Thanksgiving just one more time. Decades later, it's not going away. That's the truth. No sugarcoating that. But there are some truths that can ease that a bit, and it can make this life that has so much darkness and loss in it a little more sunshiny. And we owe it to them. We owe it to those people who came before us that loved us so much, that loved us to adulthood, to live this life fully like that, and to smile, and to enjoy it too, even though it can be so horrible sometimes, like when life takes a parent away from us. I'd like to share with you some things that I've learned about that, and I'd like to share with you how I learned some of those things. I want to tell you about my papa and what it was like to lose him. My papa was a preacher. He preached for a lot of little churches across the South his whole life, and of course he knew a thing or two about death. He preached a lot of funerals, and we also went around and visited people in some of their darkest times. He took me with him as a little boy. He called me his right-hand man. We'd go to see people in the hospitals and nursing homes, and even at their houses when really bad things had happened. There was one in the middle of the night. Her name was Betty. She was very old, and her husband had just died. The coroner was there when we arrived, and we found Betty out in the front yard, just wailing by herself. It was awful. And Papa hopped out of the car and ran over to her. He hugged her, and he sat out there in the yard with her for the longest time. He knew a thing or two about death in his own life too. His parents died, of course, and he faced the death of children. Their first children, my nanny and papa, they had twin boys who died about a day after they were born. Neither one of them ever got over that. So it's true, we don't get over this. Not in that total way. But that's not the only thing that's true. The fact that we can lose our loved ones, that we will lose our loved ones, means that it's vitally important that we love while we can. And the love that our parents had for us, we have it in us right now. It's still here. It makes up part of who we are in our soul. We have a responsibility to share that, to love other people. Not only is it a responsibility, but it's an opportunity to take the pain and make something beautiful out of it, to make something eternal out of it. Because that love is passed on generation to generation. Each one of us, we're the culmination of a lot of love that came before us, before we were ever here. We're at the present moment, the end of a line of love, and there's a line of love to come, far beyond our lifetime. And in this way, that love is really eternal. And that doesn't make the pain of losing our parents okay, but it does give us something of value that we can see through the experience, something that makes this life really worthwhile. I've heard it said that it's important to savor the grief. A strange thing to say, I know, but I think it's true. We need to feel it all the way when it happens. My papa did that. When his wife died, my nanny, it was horrible. I got over to their house as soon as I could. It was a couple of hours after it had happened. I came into the garage and I saw Papa there in the kitchen, surrounded by the church people. I saw a look on his face I had never seen before. I knew it was real when I saw that. I just ran over to him and I grabbed him, squeezed him hard, and he let out this horrible sound. He said, "My wife, my wife." It was horrible. He really felt it all the way. And he did after that too. I remember we had to walk him everywhere he went for many days, literally holding him up on both sides. But I think it's important to feel the pain all the way. We have to savor the grief. It's the only way through it, but we can't savor the grief for the sake of getting through it. We have to submit to it all of the way. There's some things in this life that we must submit ourselves to completely. And grief is one of them. We'll find our way through it, but we have to allow that to happen. We have to get down on the floor and pound our fist into the ground and wail until our voices are hoarse, if that's what it takes. We have to let that happen. Part of living this life is enjoying it completely and feeling the hurt of it completely when it comes. But it's through that we learn the lessons of the pain. It's how we find our way back to loving this life, to sharing it with other people, to appreciating it for all of its delicious flavors. And so, a very important lesson is that we have to savor the grief. The day came when my papa died. I wasn't able to be with him. I had just started working as a therapist at a practice, and my new boss definitely didn't want me to be gone. And she offered that I could leave after he died, but leading up to that, when he was just not so well off, it wasn't worthy of being gone at such an early stage. I definitely regret that to this day. You know, the day after he died, I was doing therapy the next morning, 8 a.m., I was in a session. You know, though, that actually, it helped. It helped to focus on someone else's problems. But it was hard. And when I was able to, I definitely savored the grief all the way. I would go on long walks by myself, cry to myself. I'd remember all of my long walks with Papa, all of our talks and all of his jokes. But you know, after a while, there was this strange thing. I could feel his presence in the sunshine. I could feel him with me in my heart. And I still do. What I learned from him about loving and taking care of people still informs me every day. I aspire to live up to it. And I didn't say this before, but he he loved growing things. He always had these ridiculously big gardens. And, every spring there'd be new things coming up. I remember the little tomatoes that would come up, he'd call volunteers. Little sprouts that come out of nowhere. And in all my walking around and thinking about losing him, the words kept coming back to me that meant so much to me that I'd read in Leaves of Grass, where Whitman said that the smallest sprouts show there really is no death, and if ever there was, it led forward to life. I realized that I was one of the sprouts at one point, and there are little sprouts coming up around us all the time, and there always will be. And, just as those people who came before us faced the pain and the sting of their losses, and they loved us anyway, and they carry on and loved this life anyway, we've got to do the same. And we have a good reason to. It's true that our lives come to an end, but life carries on in a different way. The smallest sprouts show that. When I was a kid, there was a man in one of those churches. His name was Lake. Believe it or not, that was his name. And every time he would say one of his prayers, he would always end it with these words. He'd go, "And Lord, help us to keep on keeping on." And he'd do it just like that every single time. He was a sweet old man. But that keeping on thing, it's a good thing to pray for. It's hard to do sometimes. It's hard to do when we've lost a parent. But that love that they had for us, that love that we still carry inside of us, that they gave us, that love really is eternal. It's waiting for us every day to pass on to other people. It's our duty to do that, but it's also our joy. It's one of the things that makes this life worth living. It made our parents' lives worth living. And those smallest sprouts, the ones that show us that there really is no death, or if ever there was, it led forward to life, they require our attention. They require our love. But they require our attention for a different reason too. They require our attention because they can help us right now. They show us that this life is filled with so much meaning and beauty despite all of its pain, so much wonder. And tending to them really is a good reason to keep on keeping on.